Hey, what's up? Welcome to Degen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts and the tickers that you can see here behind me, and Ed over there. The ape, the degenerative ape. And yeah, here, cheers to what's hopefully a great week for us up ahead. Last week turned out pretty green. So I'm curious to know if it ends up continuing green next week, or if there needs to be a little bit of a pullback, a little retest before continuing upwards further. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, it's pretty crazy how green last week closed, as you can see behind me. But yeah, cheers to that, and hopefully another week of lots of green. All right, and so all of these tickers that are behind me, as well as the ones that were included in the thumbnail, which are really ETFs, all of those tickers, I made videos on them last week, and so I just kind of wanted to do a follow-up review of them, and I am happy to take any ticker requests. So if you're watching this live, let me know in the live chat. And if you're not watching this live, let me know in the comments what tickers are you interested in. Or you can find me on Twitter. I'm fairly active there at dgen_an, A-N, because I'm Andy, and that's Ed over there. We're different. But yeah, so I'm going to jump into the charts and just kind of go over what I did over the past week. Let's see. There we go. All right, and so I'm going to start with gold. I feel like that's maybe not the most interesting to most viewers, but with such a green week last week with stocks, I've been kind of thinking, maybe it's a good time to look elsewhere in case there's a pullback. And I, had been looking at the gold chart and thinking, oh man, it's up a lot. I don't really want to risk a pullback from that. But it was pointed out by Gareth Soloway. I don't know if you guys follow him, Verified Investing. I tend to watch his videos, but don't pay for his services. And I learn a lot from him. And he was pointing out that this was consolidation with gold, expecting it to move higher. But when I was looking at it, I saw this upward moving trend line, the higher lows, and I was thinking that it might break to the downside because it's moving upwards. I would expect like a bullish flag to have to be coming down more before breaking up. But then I noticed that it looks like there's hidden bullish divergence with this, where you have the higher lows in the stock price and lower lows with the RSI, Relative Strength Index. And so this seems like, there's a lot of nice potential with this. And the video that I made on this was based on this high, I believe the all-time high, which was $191. Oh, by the way, this is ticker symbol GLD, which is Spider Gold shares. And so this is basically, I think, one of the more representative ETFs for straight up gold shares. And so the high of that was around 191. And so I believe it's a 3.5% move upwards to that from Friday's close. So there is some, potential with that. But also, I was thinking that with a price of, $184 per share, is there an alternative that's a little cheaper per share? And so I also found ticker symbol AAAU, which is Goldman Sachs Physical Gold ETF. And that is right around $20 per share. So a little more manageable, to get a number of shares if you have a limited budget. Like I do, if I were to pick up some gold, it would probably be AAAU, just because, I can get more of them for cheaper. And so moving again to the high with this, I left this box up here. That would be about a 3.5% move. So same as the Spider Gold shares, ticker symbol GLD, that I just went over. But you have the same kind of, higher lows with the stock price, and then lower lows with the RSI. So that would suggest that, it's just kind of stalling, consolidating before continuing upwards potentially. But, in looking at these ETFs, I was also curious if there was one that was 2x leveraged, just to get a little bit more action with it. And I was not able to find I was not able to find a 2x leveraged ETF, but I was able to find, this is ticker symbol SHNY, MicroSectors Gold 3x leveraged ETN. So it's an exchange traded note rather than exchange traded fund. So I'm not really too sure what the differences between those are, but I was just, curious about the leverage with this if gold is to continue higher, and I'm, let's say, very confident in that. Whether I am or not, I'm not really sure. But, the upside to the all-time high for this ticker symbol SHNY is 26%. So, there's definitely a lot more room for gains with this. But, if it does go to the downside, you also have a lot more risk with it. But anyways, I just thought that this was interesting to kind of take a look away from the stocks I've been following, and just to, this might be something nice for me to look at least this week, because, it was so green last week. I feel like there's got to be a pullback coming up, and I hope that isn't reflected in earnings that are coming up. I hope that the stocks that have earnings this coming week don't drop, whereas last week a lot of the stocks that I was watching at least went up. And so this is something that I'll be considering over this week. And if any of you have experience with ETNs, I'd be curious to get your perspective, your thoughts. Maybe that's a really foolish thing, I really don't know, but getting the 3x leverage, if I'm confident it's going to go up, this seems a little more appealing, but, more risky. But anyways, so I'm going to get back to these, the stocks. I might actually I think there's one other ETF on my list, which is Boyle. And so I'll probably just go over this. I got a lot of stuff drawn on there. I've been following it for a while. But yeah, I wanted to go over this, and then I'll get into the stocks. Probably just do them alphabetically. Excuse me. Unless there are requests for me to do them in a certain order, or if there are any ticker requests. And yeah, so with Boyle, basically, let's see what happened with this. I think, I believe I had some shares that, I had gotten a while ago when I was waiting to break even with them. And I saw it down here for, about a week. And I decided to get my average down. When it took off, I was able to break even up here. And then I started to think, I noticed this trend line going up. I feel like it's going to pull back to that, which is around $64, $65 per share. But then I was also thinking, things tend to go, lower than I expect. And I see that, this level at right around 60, 59.20 has served, as initially served as support back here in April. And then the price has kind of bounced around there, serving as resistance here. And so I decided that, I made videos on this, that I thought the price would go down to $60. That was also based on looking at Max Payne to see what the possible prices would be in the coming weeks. And so I thought it'd take 2 weeks to go down to 60 and then a week to go up to 66. It actually took 1 week to go down to 60 and lower, and then came up to 66. When it crossed up here, it closed above, actually, let's see, I'm going to change the candles so they're hollow for the upward ones. When it closed above that trend line, I exited at 66 per share, and then it quickly pulled back to what was right around 60 per share, and then went back up again. So, you could have made that trade 2 times. But now it looks like, it's kind of been dancing along this trend line. It looks like it closed right on it on Friday. But I suspect, and it does look like, there might be this topping tail. It hasn't been able to close above, make a new higher close than this candle here that was on Halloween. And so this does look like, it's a topping tail. When it goes up, people are selling, and so it may be coming down, seems likely. And something that someone shared this thought with me in the comments below was basically suggesting that there was this cycle with Boyle. So this is, I should note, this is Boyle, BOIL, which is Proshares for 2x leveraged natural gas. And yeah, so somebody in the comments had mentioned that, there's this cycle or this pattern with it. And I looked at the dates that this person suggested that there was a pattern with it, and I didn't really agree with him, but it gave me the idea to kind of measure the amount of time between these lows in the RSI right before price went up a bunch. And, so this is like right here on October 2nd, this isn't the lowest the RSI was, but it was the lowest. It was the dip in the RSI with the price being very low right before violent moves upward, a violent move upwards. And so I just wanted to, kind of compare that. And it turns out, let's see if I get this drawing tool up here. Let's see. Data and price range. So if I connect from that line to, actually, let's see, I'm going to do this from the bottom of this candle, the tail of that candle up to the top, just so we can get an idea. So that's a 68% move over the course of 16 trading days. And but if I measure this across to this gray, I don't know if you can see the gray vertical line there, but that represents 42 trading days. And so, yeah, I'm just going to leave that there, and I'm going to draw another one of these. And so if I start this at the base of this candle, at its tail, and go up, that represents a move of over 40%. And then if I measure this over to the next vertical line, let's see, also 42 trading days. So it's kind of crazy that it seems like maybe there's this cycle. Maybe this is just coincidence. But, that's piqued my interest. And, so let's see if I'm going to measure this again up to the top here. That represents, again, over 40% move over the course of 8 trading days. And then if I drag this over to 42 trading days, that would then fall on November 29th. So what I'm really curious to see is, and I'm actually going to delete these boxes just because it gets a little cluttered with them. So what I'm very curious to see is if Boyle comes down over the next few weeks, what's the price at around November 29th? If it's near this level, okay, so I've got multiple levels of support. If it's near this lower level of support around $54, that represents that what was support back here in May, breaking through that, which was then resistance in June. That also served as support with a touch point in August, support in September before breaking below, serving as resistance in late September, breaking through in October. And so if we come back down to that level at the end of November, or near this trend line, this upward trend line that I have drawn here, I'd be very curious to see if there's a 40% move to follow November 29th. If there is a cyclical pattern, or if that's just coincidence. It's probably just coincidence, but I'm really curious to see if there is, a strong dip in the RSI, if it looks like it's at support, seeing where it's going to go after that. So I'm excited about that. Currently, I am not in a Boyle position. I exited all of my shares when it went above 66. But yeah, right around 54.30, 54.50, I'm interested in reopening a position if that is around, November 29th, because I think that could be a pretty quick return of 10 to 40%. Who knows? But, again, it might just be coincidence. But yeah, so now I'm going to start talking about some of the stocks, and happy to take any requests if anybody's watching live. If you are watching live, just drop an emoji in the live chat just so I know that you're there. So I'm not drinking by myself. But the whole reason why I wanted to do the live stream is to hopefully form a little bit of a community, but also just to be more accountable for myself with my trading. So this would serve as like a trading journal, and so I can then be making improvements in the trades that I'm making. But yeah, so this first stock is American Airlines, ticker symbol AAL. I did make a video on this, as well as another ETF I'll go over after AAL is ARKX, ticker symbol ARKX, which is the ARK Space Exploration and Innovation ETF. And then also with that video, I believe I included CAR, which is Avis Budget. And so that video wasn't really that popular. I feel like it's just because those are not necessarily stocks or ETF that trends a lot for videos like this. But basically, I was pointing out that they had come to what looks like this. I'm going to take a step back. I think actually for American Airlines, I went on the monthly time scale. Each candle's a month. This goes back to 2008. So it's the month of July 2008 served as support. Whenever the price came back to that level, served as support. And so, with earnings having been last month closing right around this level of support, it seems like it's a great time for a reversal, which could potentially go as high as, I believe, $19 if it were to just top out, based on this candle from July of this year. And so, yeah, it seemed like it was getting to that support. And, I made a video on it. I believe, let's see, I should check. I'm going to check when I made that video. 1 second. I just got to pull up get this on my phone. So I made an American Airlines video saying, is it ready for takeoff? Which was October 26th. So October 26th, that was, this candle right here. Yeah, it was ready for takeoff, or it was on the runway getting ready for takeoff. As you can see, the candle from Friday, gap up, and and the day before, Thursday, gap up as well. So I was right about that. And then I made a follow-up video including not only American Airlines, but also ticker symbol CAR for Avis Budget, and also ARKX. I released that video on October 30th, and that was that they're at trendline support. And so October 30th, that was, 3 days before this gap up. So a pretty nice video. I'm surprised it didn't get much attention. Maybe people just caught it too late. But yeah, I'm really proud of that. And so, where do I see this going? There's a gap up here to around, I believe, $14. So, I guess I can draw a little box around that. Maybe it's going to go up there, but these gaps were formed the past couple days. So I'm wondering if there might be a pullback over the next couple days, because the market was so green the last couple days, or especially this stock. So maybe there'd be a pullback to maybe this level of support, fill those gaps before continuing upward. So that would be really nice. But, it could also, looks like around 1226, 1225, this could be serving as, level of support here. So maybe that's a level that it might stop at, or maybe up to like 1260, 1250 maybe. But yeah, I don't know if this will continue because of these gaps. I would imagine that it will cool off before continuing upwards. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what it's like tomorrow. But I kind of hope that it does pull back because, otherwise you leave those gaps there, they're just going to be filled eventually. And so you want to fill those before taking off, filling this gap up here, and then maybe continuing on upwards to 19. But yeah, so that stood out to me as interesting. I currently do have a position with AAL. And yeah, I'm holding it. I'm chilling. And yeah, so following that, I'm going to do ARKX just because it's an A right next to it in the chart. This, of the three, AAL, ARKX, and CAR, this one seemed the most interesting to me as far as this trend line support, because it doesn't really go back that far. This ETF, I remember when it was first released around like $20, and it's like much cheaper than the other ARK funds, but then it just went down, so it's that was, I guess it opened up in March, the end of March 2021, went sideways. This is basically like a bear flag, I guess, before going down. And yeah, so I just saw this trend line support. I was holding some of this. I did sell it on Friday. I want to get in the habit of not holding things too long. And so I made a little bit of money with it, closed my position. And, and on that note of closing it, if we look at this, let's see, from this high right here, I don't know the best way to, yeah, maybe from that higher, no, I'll do it from the top. I don't know what's technically more appropriate. I don't know what that line's doing there. I'm going to delete that. But yeah, so, there's some closes above it. So yeah, I should probably do it up here. Or I could do a little channel. Let's see, I'll do a channel, and maybe that will make it clear that, yeah, that's a channel. What this channel tool does, I think it just takes like the average of the stock price and then just makes a channel around it. And it looks like we've closed at or perhaps above the top of that. And so I would imagine, especially with this gap here, basically the past couple of days were so green that gaps were formed in a lot of these. So I would imagine that this, could pull back, maybe bounce off the middle of a channel. So if I extend it further, to include Thursday and Friday, it looks like that's right on the line. It's been on the line before. It's opened above it and, then closed below. So, yeah, I feel like there could be a pullback. I feel like these gaps that were formed could be filled before, continuing upwards again. So that's why I closed my position. It just seemed like the right time to do it. But yeah, maybe I'll, reestablish one if it looks like it's pulled back and there might be another go at going up. And then, following that, because I included it in the same video, CAR. And this, I believe this one was pointed out to me by Gareth Soloway from his game plan videos. And you can see, yeah, going back, this is, it did break through this level of support, this trend line. But other than that, served as support. And so this was, I think earnings was right around, this was a result of earnings, that big gap up. And so this makes me a little antsy, like it might be pulling back to fill that gap before continuing upwards. And so let's see, is there a level that, so these candles here, I'll go at the very top of this one. That's right around, and I could do it a little bit lower so it includes more of those candles. Yeah, I don't really know what price to go at. You just get the idea. Yeah, there's another touch point here, so it served as resistance there. That's pretty. Oh, resistance over here too. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So, I'd imagine that CAR will be pulling back. Maybe it'll dance around that line a little bit, but that seems like it's a pretty significant level going back with. Wow, that's crazy. Just so many touch points serving as resistance. For much of this, for pretty much all of this really didn't serve as support at all. It just, every time that it went below, it just kind of crashed through. There was no real support there. I guess right here there was a little bit of support, but that's really just like a bear flag. So, yeah, I imagine this is going to be coming back down to fill this gap. So that would put, let's see, what's the price of the high of November 1st? It was like 166.77. So like 167. I'd imagine the price will be going down to that. So maybe it's flattening out. I don't do shorts or puts that often. I've never done shorts, but puts rarely. I always tend to lose money with options. But this does seem like, it's at a technical level. Maybe over the next couple days it holds up there, but shows signs of weakness, like decreasing volume, let's say. And I could definitely see this coming back to 167 to fill that gap. A little bit lower than 167, but it could be interesting. And I'll continue on with the stocks. So one that I just recently released over the weekend, yesterday, including I also did a gold video. I went over gold earlier in this video, but I also did one on Bionano Genomics. And the thing that stood out to me, I was actually trying to figure out a video to do on Friday, and I think I made one on Luminar, which I'll cover that stock in a second. But I was just intrigued by noticing that the last time the RSI crossed from below 30 to 30, there was a nearly 40% run over the course of, 3 trading days. And so the price did just cross into above 30 as far as, so the RSI just crossed to above 30. And so, I'm curious to see if there is a run. It looks like, there was this level of support that then became resistance right around $3, psychological level that makes sense, even dollar amount. But then there's also, it looks like there was this little bit of sideways action, 3 days that overlapped in this box. So that would be from about $2.20 to $2.30 or so. So that could serve as resistance. But, the big thing is that earnings is coming up, I believe, after hours on Wednesday, November 8th. And so if this is green Monday and Tuesday, I could imagine that there'd be a pullback following earnings, especially if it looks like volume's going down. So Friday's volume was a little bit lower than Thursday's. Also, this could be a topping tail. I'm just wondering if this is going to go up before earnings and then tank, or if volume's increasing, if it would just be going up, maybe moving up quickly, nearly doubling the price from where it's at now to get to $3. So that's a pretty interesting stock right now with earnings coming up. But, because it's been so green the past couple of days, it makes me uneasy getting into earnings. Generally I get uneasy thinking about earnings, especially if I want to swing trade something. It just seems a little risky. But that is what it is, and there has been some upward movement. So we'll see if it cools off the next couple of days. And and they're also awaiting response from the FDA. The FDA just got back to them and let them know that I'm not sure if it's a drug or what, an instrument that they're working on or technology. To be honest, I don't really know. But actually, no, that's a different ticker. So never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about with BNGO. They are, they just got earnings coming up. And so hopefully that's good and the price goes up, but it could come back down to this level, especially if, it's overbought before earnings. Okay. And then, so Chewy I wanted to cover. I did not make a video on this last week, but I wanted to cover it. Because I was holding some Chewy, and I, had the target. I made a video with, the target of this box up here. But, I just found myself spread a little too thin with too many positions. And so I was just trimming Chewy as it was going up. And I closed my position at, 21. Also thinking about that there's this gap that's formed here. So there might be a retracement to that. Let's see, was there the low on November 1st was 1868. The high on October 30th was 1859. So there's a gap there. It's a small gap, but there's a gap there. So I could see Chewy pulling back perhaps to this level of around 1850, which did serve as resistance here with a drop, and these two candles that's serving as resistance. So I don't see, is there anything going back further? It's a weekly time frame. Nope. So yeah, I see it pulling back before it continuing upwards to fill this gap around 26, 27 bucks. So yeah, I'm trying to play it safe, and I took my profits and I'm still watching it, but I'm going to wait. You can actually see I've got an alert here for it to be at 1868 is when that alert is, because that would be entering that small gap there. So that's something that I'll be looking at. But yeah, I mean, you can see the RSI is 65.8. So getting pretty close to 70. I think there might need to be a little bit of a pullback in that, a reset, before it would continue higher. And I think that could be accomplished by coming back to this, yellow line here, this top yellow line I have drawn there, right around 1850. So that's what I'm expecting over the next couple weeks. Maybe I'll make a video on that. Maybe I should do that tomorrow. That might be a good one for me to cover. I was thinking Chewy seems like a good one. And then I was also thinking maybe doing one on AMC because earnings are coming up. But, those AMC gets to be fairly saturated. So many people are covering it. I don't know that there's much I could add to it. But yeah, so I'll probably do a video on Chewy tomorrow. And maybe AMC as well. I don't know. But yeah, this seems like it makes sense to me. It makes sense, holding it, I'd be more emotional. I'm not holding it. I'm out. Why did I close my position? Because I see there's potential for it to return to a lower value at, around 1850. And then I could, start reestablishing a position there on the way to fill this gap up here. So that seems like a really good idea for me. I think I'm going to do that. Patiently waiting, always waiting for the right time. And speaking of waiting, the next one's a really good one to talk about waiting. This is Hycroft mining. So this is one that I've held periodically over the past couple years. And, I've basically, let's see, if we come back, I believe this is, when I think I got introduced to this when it was running up. And I saw a gap. I'm not sure. It was probably this gap. Yeah, to about 1.4, $1.40. I saw this gap and I was saying, I had some shares up here, but I was thinking, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to be patient and I'm going to wait for that gap to fill. I think it's going to happen. And so I held my shares from up there and the gap was filled. And then I believe I'm not sure exactly where, but I was able to take profits periodically, swing it periodically, and and then I saw or was aware that there's going to be a reverse split. And so from what I've experienced with reverse splits is price always goes down, whether that's following the announcement of there going to be a reverse split or in the lead up to the reverse split actually happening. And then following the reverse split, there tends to be drops in the price. And so I was expecting the price to stay in this channel, this parallel channel that I have drawn here, and to continue down that following the reverse split. But then it broke out because we hadn't heard about the reverse split announcement. And then it even jumped up to, and this is, it's crazy because it's like, well, maybe there were some big accounts that, wanted to fill at 34 cents. So it goes up, they close their positions a few days before the price starts to tank following the announcement of the reverse split. And so then it did dip back into the channel. It has broken out of the channel, but then there's this, red line that I have drawn there at right around 26 cents, which was 26.01 cents based on the low that was formed on October 4th. You just see this tail of this candle just coming down, kissing that line, going back up. And so that's the red line that I've drawn there. It seems like it's a pretty significant level. And that's it touched that line, but was not able to break above on Friday. And so my thoughts on what's going on with the price is that it's a bear flag. I'm sorry if that's not what you want to hear, but I think that it's, and you actually see this here. Let's see, with the price going from, there to there, there's that little channel, and that was awaiting the news of the reverse split announcement. And so I could see that there will be another channel. I don't think it's going to extend out here. That this channel will go up, but then it will break. And my thoughts are that I've got to adjust the y-axis here a little bit. My thoughts are that it's going to come back into this channel and it might retest the low, the bottom of this channel. And that if that low were to coincide with the purple line is when the reverse split will happen, 1 to 10 reverse split, that would be at a price of around 12 cents, or post-split $1.20. And so I'm, just patiently waiting for the reverse split to happen, to see price drop, and then to start accumulating a position, because I think that there will probably be some violent upward movements after the reverse split, after it's settled and formed a bottom. I think it could really take off. So I'm really excited about this one, but I'm just trying to patiently wait for the reverse split to happen, which I should note, is going to be occurring on November 14th. So not this week, but the following week. I think it's a Tuesday, but I can't remember. But anyways, so that is Hycroft Mining, which I'm really excited about what happens after the reverse split. But I think it's just going to be, generally, I think it's just going to be down until after that reverse split happens. All right, the next stock is another one that has earnings also on November 8th, like Bionano Genomics, ticker symbol BNGO. It's one I was talking about earlier. You can see the earnings there. I don't think I mentioned ticker symbol BNGO. But yeah, so looking at Luminar, ticker symbol LAZR, earnings coming up on November 8th, Wednesday, after hours. And so I have this highlighted gap that's up here, and also noting that the lower lows in the price while there's higher lows in the RSI, that's bullish divergence. And so I noticed that, made a video on it on Friday, which, I think, on Friday. So that was, I late to calling it. But with earnings coming up next week, this bullish signal, and then, price going up, that makes me feel kind of bullish prior to earnings. But as far as what happens in earnings, I have no idea. It looks, there's this gap that I don't know if it's multiple gaps. Yeah, multiple gaps formed here the past couple days. So what I would really like to see is a pullback Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, getting into earnings. And then, if these gaps are filled, then, I'd be bullish, going into earnings, because, if we look at taking a step back, looking at the weekly chart, we're at all-time lows. And so, and I think the company's doing a lot of great stuff. So, but, if we look at this candle from Friday, this big wick coming out of the topping tail. So if, let's say, it does not close above, 369, what the price is currently, or not currently, but, what it closed at on Friday. If it doesn't close above 369, or if it doesn't close above this topping tail, then, it seems like downside's more likely. But, if these gaps do end up getting filled, then I would think that that's a great time to reset and then move upwards. So, it's tough to predict what's going to happen with earnings. So many things were popping last week following earnings that it seems like, that's what people are expecting. For next week, I'm probably leaning more bearish. And I think that's why I was a little more interested in gold, because I think, ending on such a green week last week, you got to balance it out with a red one. Keep people on their toes. So, I'm skeptical going into earnings, but, basically, I guess I should mention, I am holding some Luminar. And so basically what I'm thinking is that if it pulls back to fill this gap, then I'd add more. But until then, I'm just chilling. I'm just hanging out. Not worried, not stressed. It'd be great to see a run fill this gap, continue upwards. But, we're just going to have to wait and see for Wednesday after hours earnings report. But anyways, the next one on the list is Palantir, which is just crazy. I made a video on this as well as with Square, I believe. And I was expecting it to come down and come down to this level, which would have been, around $14. But it stopped right around $14.50, $14.60. Earnings happened, this big gap up, closed above this trend line, this trend line where you can see the touch points there. Closed above that on Thursday, and then touched that line, closed well above it, 1891. And so that makes me think, because there was this top here right around 1850, it's closed above that. That would be, the next logical level of support, because it served as resistance here earlier in October, I guess last month in October. And it also, there's this topping tail that pierced that back in July 19th. And so, I could see it coming back to 1850 before continuing upwards, or maybe coming back to refill this gap. I don't know. That's a pretty big gap. So I'd imagine that will be filled. Who knows when, though? Could be in the next couple of weeks. Could be filled, a year from now or later. Who knows? But in all honesty, I was hoping it was going to tank so I could pick some up at a cheap price. But just sitting this one out. Really cool company, and I think that there's a bright future long term. But as far as trading goes, I didn't want to establish a position before earnings because I knew it'd be volatile. Had I known it would be volatile to the upside, I would have definitely grabbed some. But yeah, what can you do? It's pretty cool that it pierced this trend line and is now above what seems like is going to be a significant level of support around 1850. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, moving on to the next one, Rivian. So earnings coming up this week. This is November 7th. That's Tuesday. I think it's after hours, but I can't remember exactly. But, you know, this, man, looks like, you know, there's topping tail. Well, it was a green candle on Friday. The price went down. And so that's why the candles filled in green. Then there's this gap to about 1630. Let's see, the high on November 1st was 1630. So I would think that it's got to fill that gap before it would continue upwards. So hopefully the next couple days, the next couple days it would have to be, fill that gap, and then earnings could potentially take it higher. But, you know, maybe not. Ooh, and I'm going to see, maybe there's a trend line here. So from this point through that one, now it looks like we broke above it. So, yeah, nothing there. But maybe that's bullish that it broke above that line. And you can also see that, you know, I have it highlighted. There's this gap up there. But, you know, I could see it coming back down to this trend line, maybe to fill the gap and then continue upwards. I mean, I could see it coming back to the trend line, maybe as following earnings. Yes, I guess I would say I'm not really that bullish on Rivian for earnings. I think it's probably going to pull back because there are only 2 days. Assuming I'm pretty sure the earnings are in the after hours, but yeah, it seems a little risky. This one seems a little risky with that gap and this bearish hammer. It might be green, but that is an inverted hammer. So we'll have to see what happens with that. I don't currently have a position with Rivian, and the videos that I have made, I believe I mentioned that I was watching it around $12 a share, and I regret not establishing a position then. But you know, what can you do? Doesn't mean I'm not interested in it. So yeah, and so this is Square that had earnings on the 2nd, which was Thursday, I believe after hours. Gap up, bullish hammer, another gap up, green, but the price went down over the course of that day. So I could see this coming back to, let's see, where is that? 47.50 to fill that, not really fill that gap, but just to be, you know, at that level of support. But then there are these gaps. So yeah, I mean, I see pullback in this. However, you know, I did notice that there's, let's see, this is lower lows in the price, higher lows in the RSI, plus it touching the 30. Yeah, so this was pretty clear that it was going up. I was holding some Square. I believe I sold at 48 because I saw this line at, you know, 47.50. I thought it'd go above it before coming back down. I didn't think it'd go up to, like, I think 53 something was the high. So like the high of the day was 52.13. But if we look, I'm going to look at the 4-hour chart. 53.45 was the high. But, you know, I didn't want to be greedy. I saw this level. I thought it'd go a little bit higher, but I didn't want to be greedy. I wanted to close my position because, you know, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, whether it's weekly or monthly, I want to be closing positions, taking profits, moving on to the next one. So I'm constantly learning, constantly improving my technique and not getting too emotionally attached to these stocks because it's very easy to do that. But yeah, I guess, you know, I imagine nobody's still watching this, but, you know, what I might do is just pull up AMC. Oh, I thought I pulled up AMC. AMC. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, one thing, okay, so this, I mean, I could do this on the weekly, but, on October 12th, it closed at $11 per share and had a high of 11.17. So I was really hoping that last Friday, just last trading day, that it would close above 11.17, because then that would be higher than this candle, higher than the wick, and that would be pretty bullish. Instead, we got this inverted hammer, the wick up. So it does seem like, let's see, that $11 is pretty significant level of support there. With just this close at $11. Yeah, and you see it as support back here in late August. There was a bounce there. So, yeah, with earnings coming up on Wednesday, I believe after hours, I want it to go up. I think it's severely undervalued right now. But with this consolidation, it'd be nice. This served as support here, this $9 level. So if we look at this candle here on September 14th, that had a high of $9.10. So if I put a line on that, right around $9.10 here. There we go. That resistance there with a touch point, that then served as support over the course of October. And so what would be really nice if, rather than returning to $9.10 or $9, whatever, it would be really nice if these candles then served as support, with, these wicks going above that level, and that would be around 987. So yeah, I mean, it seems like, let's see, what's the high of this day? 996. So yeah, I mean, right around $10. I could see that as being support, whether that's over the next couple days, the next few days before earnings, and then there's a bounce, or if it pulls back to that level as a result of earnings. But yeah, I mean, I just see this as, I'm going to move these boxes. This was to make a point about how with reverse splits, price can go down. And, related to what I was talking about with Hycroft, you have this drop when there's the announcement of the merger of the APE equity units and AMC shares, and a reverse split announcement. You then see this channel up here, and that's, a bear flag. And then it comes down more, and then you see the same type of thing. Another bear flag, down more. And yeah, so, and that was, bear flag following the 1 to 10 reverse split. So, and we're still below those levels. So, yeah, that makes me think it's still very undervalued. And so, but yeah, who knows what's going to happen around earnings. I think that long term, I think that this has a lot of great potential to move violently upwards, but who knows when that's going to happen. We have been, I should note, I did draw this trend line here based on, these touch points from, I guess, the close on September 8th to the open on September 28th. Looks like that's served as support. Will we come back and retest that? I'm not really sure. I have no idea. I would think that $9 would serve as a pretty significant level of support. So I think coming back to test that trend line level of support, that trend line as support, doesn't seem too likely to me. But coming down to $10 or $9 a share, I mean, I think coming back to $10 a share definitely seems likely. Coming down to $9 seems feasible. I would imagine that comes down to 10, maybe bounces, and then maybe comes back to 9. And maybe that would be like a a spring before it launching upwards. Maybe, around the edge of this wedge that I have drawn, this trend line. And so, yeah, we'll have to see with that. But anyways, I am going to remove that. So we're back on this screen for the live stream. And it's been almost an hour. I don't know that I've had anybody tune in because nobody's been in the live chat. But hopefully this was helpful for you. Definitely helpful for me in thinking about, my plan for the week and, basically new videos that I could be making. One is, on Chewy. I think that would be an interesting video. Let's see. I've got it on my screen. I think I was thinking that there will be a pullback with that because there were some gap ups. And then also Rivian in the top right corner here with earnings coming up. It looks like, let's see. With Rivian, there was, an inverted hammer on Friday. It might have been a green hammer, but it was inverted coming down. So I might have to do a video on that because it seems like that's going to be coming back down, maybe to fill that gap prior to or as a result of earnings. So Chewy, Rivian, let's see, Luminar right here. If you can see my finger, my hand right here. Luminar there. They've got earnings on Wednesday, so I'll probably want to do a video on them. Maybe AMC. And so I think there's a lot of cool stuff, exciting stuff happening next week. And, I hope it's as green as this past Thursday and Friday were. Ended up being pretty good for, the stocks that I've been covering on this channel. And hopefully that continues. Oh, and before I forget, I did not put this up. If you enjoyed this content, if you watched all of it, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video, comment below to let me know your thoughts about it, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to support my efforts in, just trying to make trading and entries, exits, identifying good technical levels, making that information more accessible, and just having fun, trading and hopefully making some profits, taking some profits. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoy the addition of Ed over there. He doesn't talk much. He's always thinking about bananas. Thank you so much for watching. I will do this stream again every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be posting probably about 5 videos over the course of the week. I'm going to try to stick to individual stocks and or have all of my levels marked out before, so they're quick, efficient videos. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy them and like the ones that you do enjoy. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot for watching. I will stream again next week, and you'll be seeing me throughout the week in videos and on Twitter. All right. Take care and good night. Happy trading next week.